Jess Barber was supposed to give this talk, but unfortunately she was unable to travel. So unfortunately for you, you have to listen to me instead, but it'll only be 20 minutes, so we'll get through it. So my name's Ryan Booth. I'm the adult assessment biologist with the Sea Lamprey Control Program here in Sault Ste. Marie, and I have the pleasure to present to you the status of sea lamprey in Lake Superior for 2024. So just a quick outline. We'll first look at the fish community objectives and targets, and then we'll look at the marking rates and adult index, so our two metrics we use to gauge program success. And then some highlights from 2024 and some plans for 2025. So we'll jump right into the fish community objectives and targets. The fish community objective that was established in the early 2000s and we continue to work with today is to suppress sea lampreys to population levels that cause only insignificant mortality on lake trout. So in order to achieve this objective, we have a couple targets. One for adult sea lamprey, our index of 10,420, and then one for wounding on lake trout, so not more than 5 marks per 100 lake trout greater than 532 millimeters or around 21 inches. So we'll jump right into the most recent wounding data. That point you see circled on the far right is for 2024. Just above 8 marks per 100 lake trout, so still above target. You can see that target is the dashed red line running across, and then the 3-year averages is the blue line you can see there. So the last 2 years have been quite a bit above target. They do match up well with our adult index estimates, which is nice. Sometimes that doesn't happen, as you can see in, for example, in 2017 and 2018. They're pretty low wounding estimates, around 6, but our adult indices were quite elevated in those 2 years. So they don't always match up well, but in the last couple of years they have. So that's it for the most recent wounding data. Our adult index value comes from our index sites. You can see in red around the lake, those red dots, those are our 7 index trapping sites for Lake Superior. And then we have some non-index trapping sites that were operated in 2024 as well. So a bit of highlights from 2024 from the trapping sneak peek here. So from our 7 index sites, double that, 8,600 adults caught from those 7 index sites this past year. You can see how that compares to 2022 and 2023. Hopefully you can read that, but almost essentially doubled from 2021 to 2022 to 2020, 22 to 23 to 24 as far as raw trap catch is concerned. And then an additional 400 sea lamprey adults caught from those black dots, which are non-index sites, which are operated through collaborative agreements or supplemental controls. Just a special thanks to folks from KVIC and Gliffwick. They operate many of these traps on the U.S. side. Around 70% of those adults, those 9,000 or so adults, were caught from staff from KVIC and Gliffwick. So thanks very much for that. And then another note that Brule made up half of those adults. So on the Western Basin there, over 4,000 of the adults came from the Brule River alone. So our index sites going around from west to east, you can see in the Western Basin, Middle Brule, Bad, and then Central Basin, the Rock, Eastern Basin, Beptines, Quamina, and then all the way up to the north. Our only trapping site on the Canadian side is the Nebing River, and I finished there for a reason. We've been working to get a permanent trap there for several years now. We finally accomplished it, so I have some photos. This is what the site used to look like, what our trapping operations used to look like. We have, you can see that dock in the kind of lower hand picture that's mounted to the sheep piling. There's a copy on the far bank as well. You can't really see that. But we used to hang portable traps off of those. And so they're pretty unsafe to initially install each spring, especially in high water, and then Trapping efficiencies aren't great with those portable traps as well, so we're really excited to get a permanent trap in. If you keep an eye on that sheet piling, it's going to shift to the left here, and then you'll see our new trap mounted to the upstream side of that. Nice new stairs and handrails. We'll take a walk down the stairs here and look inside the trap. So everything nice, brand new, ready to go for 2025. So we're pretty excited to see what happens there. Certainly will improve safety for the trap operators, but should also improve our trapping efficiency at the site in our very important only Canadian index site. So we're looking forward to that. So back to the adult index, which I've been delaying here. The 7 red dots, we do market capture estimates at each of those sites. We get a population estimate for each of those. Those all added together essentially give us our adult index that we report on from year to year. So you've been in suspense long enough. Here's the point circled on the far right. It's actually a bit of a drop from last year, which you might be surprised since you saw that our adult trap catch doubled essentially. And that's just due to better trapping efficiencies this past year. Not that we made any special changes or anything to the traps, they remain the same, just conditions are more conducive to bringing more adults into the traps. So we're just better at trapping them given the environmental conditions essentially. So yeah, I didn't explain this figure, but you can see our 10,421, that's the red line running across, that's our index target. Single point estimates and confidence intervals are the black dots, and then again 3-year average in blue. Obviously the last end here we can see a pretty good increase coming up for those last 2 years. We have pretty good reason to believe that next year we should see it start to dip again. I'll try and explain that. So this figure has all of our treatment effort by year, 96 all the way to 2025. You can see 2025 is currently projected because we haven't completed that yet, but this is in staff days, so essentially the amount of effort put into that lake in treatment days. So you can see 2020, our COVID year, how little effort there is there. So the amount of effort applied to a lake, we don't see that in the adult index until a minimum of 2 years later, but it's a blend of things beyond that even. So for 2020, for example, all those missed treatments, whatever larvae were present and ready to leave, metamorphose, leave the system, start feeding, they would do so in that fall, maybe even the following spring, some of them. They would feed for 12 to 18 months, then we'd see them back that following spring in the adult index. So it's at least 2 years delayed. But there's many different year classes in those streams, so the ones that weren't ready to migrate yet would out-migrate the following spring, so it would be another year, so it could be seen 3 years later, maybe even a blend into 4 years later, so the effects are trickled beyond the 2 years as well. So all that to say, I brought in the adult index numbers here now, same adult points from the previous figure. These are offset 3 years now. So if we look at 2016 to 2019, for example, you can see the amount of treatment effort, which is the blue bars. The 16 and 19 were 2 large-scale treatment years, so we put a ton of effort in those years. Those resulted in some of the lowest adult indices we've had in this time series. And then in 2020 and 2021, which are our COVID year and then COVID year plus, we had really low water levels, so we weren't able to accomplish as much as we wanted to. Those resulted in high adult indices. And so hopeful that in the next couple of years for the adult index, starting in 2025, which would be reflective of that 2022 effort, that we'll see some drops coming up here. I threw some circles on there. They're pretty optimistic, but a guy can dream, right? So hopefully it ends up something like this, but a drop. Hopefully we see a drop in the next couple of years here. Now, you're probably looking at these 2 points where we had a fair bit of treatment effort, and those didn't result in some decreased adult indices, but time will tell here. We're hopeful, and I'm looking forward to hearing an update at the Tech Committee meeting this summer as to what you're seeing out there in the lake for wounding on fish. So, okay, so that's our 2 metrics. Now we can go quickly at some highlights from 2024. I know you can't read these probably, but just, it's more to show you that there's good geographic coverage around the lake. These are all our planned treatments that were for 2024 on Lake Superior. And those come from the amount of larval effort that's put into these systems. So we're looking everywhere on the lake. This is just an example of 1 year of effort. We're going around doing backpack electrofishing surveys, collecting larvae. We're sometimes doing lentic work when we can't wade in habitats, even some boat work in lotic areas that are non-wadeable, all with the same end goal of collecting these larvae to rank against one another to prioritize treatments. So in this past year on Lake Superior alone, we surveyed 170 tributaries in 40 different lentic areas. So a ton of effort to go from this to, oh, I blew it. There's the highlight. We're supposed to go here first. But all treatments completed in 2024. So we have a nice clean slate for 2025. There were 3 deferrals from 2023 on the north side, on the Canadian side as well. So those got completed, so we're starting fresh for 2025 on the treatment side. So that's kind of our bread and butter of the program. As you know, there's also alternative controls. Barrier crews were busy last year again. So we have many different types of barriers, inflatable barriers, stop log, and then more permanent type low head barriers. So we monitor 18, well more regularly than that, but 18 for sure. There was 11 are purpose built and then 7 modified to prevent sea lamprey passage. So those are the 18 sites that we monitor regularly. Some highlights from 2024, they end up being low lights essentially, but we had some passage at the big carp barrier. That barrier, we got it up as soon as we could in the spring, but it was just a really early spring last year. So larval crews went upstream and did find that a couple different year classes up there actually. So it'll get treated in 2025. Then all the way to the west side here, which is the Middle River, we had some undermining there that's going to get rectified, so we did have some passage there as well. The Misery River, some cracked concrete abutments that are going to get repaired. The Sand River, there was a hydraulic evaluation done there that determined there was insufficient crest height at certain flows, so we'll look to remedy that. And then one new project that's ongoing is the Sucker River in Grand Marais. Looking to install a seasonal lamprey barrier there, so the location's been confirmed and it sounds like the project design is around 60% currently. So that's it for barriers, and I guess that's it for everyone. We have a couple other smaller groups that I don't have highlights for, but in any case, plans for 2025, we're going to, why am I delayed like this? I think I'm not pointing at it. It's a problem that I get too. Okay. Trying to stick as close to status quo as we can. We'll likely be dealing with some staffing shortages, sorry. But as far, we'll just have to prioritize things as they come along. The trapping, of course, we'll get all the index sites up and going on Superior, so 7 sites, and then do as much as the non-index trapping as we can. Larval assessment might have to prioritize some, ranking surveys, distribution work, some treatment evaluations ahead of some other surveys. We did have a big project planned on Isle Royal that was supposed to go this year. We haven't been out there in a little while just to make sure we aren't missing anything out there. It looks like that's going to get postponed till next year by the sounds of it. Our barriers unit, they've already been out, in fact, on the lower lakes, installing some of the seasonal barriers, getting those up and running. Our adult crews heading down there next week to clean things up and get the trap started on Lake Ontario, Lake Erie. Looking outside here, it looks like we're going to be like July before we start here, but it happens quick. We might just be a few weeks and it'll be getting going here as well. And for treatment, you saw the projected slides there. It's a pretty average number of scheduled treatments. This is just another visual of it essentially, but right around 40 treatments, just under. So this is number of treatments, not staff days. So yeah, our regular Lotic TFM treatments in light blue, and then dark blue are the number of GB treatments. And visually, that's what it looks like. Again, just good spatial coverage. And then I just want to finish on this one slide. It's kind of where I finished last year in the presentation as well. some kind of, it's our juvenile trapping work that we do in the fall of the year. It's pretty, it's a pretty nasty time of the year. It's usually snowing, ice coming, forming, and leaf litter coming down, and hard on the gear, hard on bodies, but it's pretty rewarding to pull these lamprey out. It's kind of our last stab at these animals before they actually do some damage in the Great Lakes. So they're pretty interesting from study perspective as well, since they've either evaded a treatment or somehow avoided a treatment at some point, maybe even two, so they're pretty interesting in that aspect. But it's just nice to get them out of the system as before they cause some damage to the fishery. So yeah, these are operations on Lake Superior, just under 300 larvae or transformers that were pulled out, juveniles. And again, one more thanks to KBIC and Glyphwick, because they operate a lot of these nets for us. So that's all I have. If there's time, I'll take some questions, but otherwise, I think we're butted up against break maybe. You can come find me on break, I'll be here. I'll also be at the social tonight, so come find me. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ryan. We do have